Before I came to Goodwill, I stayed in a lot of trouble.
I started drugs and alcohol at a very young age.
I'm putting in applications in places. I'm showing up. Nobody would never answer my call. Nobody would never give me an interview.
9 months into my sentence, I heard about Goodwill.
I ended up in a program that's called Accountability Court. They helped me get clean, helped me wanted to start making something of myself. They had also mentioned taking the welding program at Goodwill.
7 days after I was home, after I had been released, that Goodwill gave me a chance.
I went through the RISE program.
The services that they provided, I was able to create my own resume, as well as learn how to use Microsoft Word and Excel, and interviewing skills.
I've got 7 years sober, and I've been at Goodwill 6 years. Goodwill offered me a job when nobody else would.
With the certifications that the welding program offers, I can walk into any job, any company, set down my AWS certification, and I will have a job before I leave.
I've been with Goodwill for 14 years. They embraced me, not just as an employee, but they embraced me as a family.
Now I am running the reentry program that changed my life with Goodwill.
One day I put in for General Motors at the Corvette plant, and now I am a material handler and I drive a forklift. I have kids, I own a home, and putting children through college. I am being an actual mother. I figured out that I was worth the change.
I just bought a house in June. I got a wife, and I'm just really proud.
I'm looking at starting my own business. I feel like the options are limitless.
I mean, it's pretty powerful. So thank you for being here today to look at one company that is bold enough to embed workforce development for formerly incarcerated and individuals who face addiction. This is not Silicon Valley's latest startup. This is a company that's doing it at scale, and they've been doing it since 1902. Goodwill is incredible in the work that it's done, and it has real economic impact. 1.8 million people are currently in prison, and one day they too hope to get out and have a fresh start. Goodwill has 140,000 employees, and they've made a real impact, but they can't do it alone. So there's so much that we can learn from this conversation, and it's a model. So lean in, get out your note cards, and let's listen to why this work is important and the scope of what Goodwill is doing.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us today. I'm Steve Preston. I'm the CEO and president of Goodwill Industries International. And the stories you heard up here are both people that move into employment at Goodwill, but we also have programs outside of the stores and job centers where we actually serve nearly 2 million people a year. These stories are obviously hopeful and life-giving, and we see what's possible, right? It's important to know that there are some really important ingredients to make them successful. Number one, you need to have somebody who's willing to invest in themselves. But number two, it is so critical, especially for people who are coming out of incarceration, to ensure that they have relevant support to address the issues that they are facing, to be able to help them move through those pathways, develop their potential, and move into employment. These are, if we probably, got together in a room and started asking people for top of mind comments about, what they think about potentially people who are coming out of prison, these probably aren't the narratives that we would hear, right? We have a very different societal narrative. And those narratives, in some ways, are self-fulfilling. They're self-fulfilling in our policies, in the programs we're willing to fund, in who we're willing to hire, even in things like who we're willing to allow people to rent apartments or other types of things. And I want to leave 3 ideas with you today, and hopefully you'll take these away. Number one is change is possible. And with the right kind of support, change is even probable. Despite national recidivism numbers of over 40% in the first year, our core programs see mid to low single-digit recidivism rates, high levels of employment, high levels of follow-on education, and in just incredible success stories. It's also important to note that industry, companies that hire people who are formerly incarcerated, regularly report as high or higher degrees of satisfaction with those employees than the rest of their teams. So that's number one, change is possible. Number two, if change, we need to believe that there is value in investing in change to every one of us in this room. Now, we see the value in the human cost, right? But if you look at the financial value, it costs $40,000 a year plus to incarcerate a person, the cost of the justice system, the cost of law enforcement, the cost of public assistance for families, lost wages, lost tax revenue, and the multi-generational impact to children is enormous, not to mention the fact that these are people who could be occupying good jobs for employers. Those costs relative to the amount of money it takes to invest in a person to help them change their lives, any private equity person on this island right now would take that ROI in a nanosecond, right? So the third thing is, if we believe there's value in investing in that, we need to begin doing the hard work to do that. We need to begin providing people with more access, stronger programs. We need to be willing to hire people to enable us to change this system. Over 500,000 people come out of prison every year. And these are the types of pathways that I think we all need to be really committing to figuring out as a society how we help change this issue that we all face in our country.
Right. And Steve, thank you so much for sharing the vision. You shared some of the numbers. You're also a Goodwill shopper. You shopped your suits today at Goodwill.
Oh yeah, my jacket I got at the Chelsea store, by the way. You guys can hop down there in the subway. Slacks, shoes, yeah. I regularly come outfitted in Goodwill.
Yeah. But and it's nice to hear the numbers, but it's also so important. We heard some of the voices in the video leading into this session. But Anthony, you've lived this. You are a retail manager. And I know right now you're on the stage in front of all of these incredibly influential people under the Klieg lights. And you want to take that in for a minute, but it wasn't an easy road to get here. Do you want to share with us your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone, thanks for having me. My name's Anthony Martinez, and I'm out here on behalf of Goodwill of Colorado. My story starts really as a teenager, really at 17. I made some terrible choices, and those choices landed me in prison for 13 years. And I got out when I was 30 and came basically to society looking for an opportunity and wondering if there was going to be an opportunity, knowing that I had wanted to make a change in my life, but I didn't know if I was going to be able to find anyone that would align with that or be able to see that or see the desire that I had to kind of take life into my own hands at a little bit of a later age, but the desire to make a change was still there, but I needed an opportunity or someone to take a chance on me. And that's kind of how I found Goodwill.
And when you were looking for someone to give you an opportunity, it wasn't just, something where you hope one day it will happen. You were given 21 days to find a job, or you had to go back to prison and finish out 8 years that were left on your term?
About 10.
And I know what it's like to look for a job. I'm still looking. Just kidding. I've figured it out on my own. But people don't write you back. They don't acknowledge your resume. 21 days is not a lot of time. You found a job in 3 days. How did Goodwill make that easy for you?
Good question. I think that Goodwill made it easy by having a built-in mission that takes second chances on people. I mean, I found out about the opportunity when I was in the halfway house from somebody else that told me to go give it a chance because I was looking. My dad was looking. My whole family actually was trying to help me gain employment. So yeah, I went down there on a recommendation or a reference. And, I remember talking to the store manager at the time, struggling in a sense to answer some of the questions that had to do with the workforce because I hadn't been in the workforce. And just saying, hey, if you can find a way to give me an opportunity at anywhere in this location, I will work harder than anyone you've seen. And that's kind of where it started.
And you've risen through the ranks.
Yeah, so I became a shift supervisor, then I became an assistant manager, then I became a store manager. Wasn't too long after that, I became a district manager. And then last year, I was promoted to regional manager.
So there's, Steve, I hope you're looking for successors. It's never too early to start that conversation. Rikki, your path was different. It was addiction that brought you home. I heard yesterday, actually, in the studio upstairs with Shatterproof's CEO and executive chairman, they were saying that addiction costs companies $50 billion. That's a big price tag. But aside from the numbers, how did addiction lead you to Goodwill?
So I dropped out of school when I was 15 years old because I got pregnant. And I started to do drugs when I was 18 years old. I was working in the nursing field at that time, and I was in and out doing drugs, left and right. I was, catching charges. But what brought me to Goodwill was 6 years ago, I caught 32 felonies for writing bad checks on my own account, just being a single mom trying to make it. I was in addiction as well. But when I caught those felonies, they took all of my credentials away. When it came to my home health aide, my CNA, my phlebotomy, they took it all away. So here I am on probation, on 6 different probations at that time, single mom, no career, no opportunity, no nothing. And they expect you, to figure it out. Again, you'd only have, I think I had 30 days to get a job. So I started to work as a case manager at a homeless shelter. And I was working there. But in the midst of that, I heard about Goodwill through one of my ISOs 9 months into my sentence. And the day I was supposed to start school, my son OD'd on fentanyl. He was 19, the one that I gave up my whole schooling for. But it was really at Goodwill where I didn't even know the coordinator at that time, but they reached out the whole time. They were there from start to finish. She was calling me every day. It really just felt like family, and I've never even met them yet. So I finished the program in 2021. Mind you, reentry services helps with life skills, financial literacy. They just help shape you into the person that maybe you used to be or you forgot how to be. And then you work on your high school diploma, you earn a trade at WSU Tech. Since I graduated the reentry program, I haven't stopped going to school. I am a semester away from my bachelor's degree in social work with drug and alcohol and addiction counseling. I got asked to come and work for the same program that changed my life and gave me an opportunity a year ago, and now I'm running that same program at Goodwill.
What does it feel like to be able to be there for people in the same way that someone was there for you?
You just have to have somebody that is willing to invest in you and give you that opportunity. And Goodwill does that. Like, they gave me back an opportunity that I never thought was possible. And now I'm able to help other individuals feel the same thing and the same care and the same rapport and build with them. And it's a great feeling.
And we all know people who are struggling with addiction, and in the prison population as well. In the conversation yesterday, they were saying that 2/3 of the prison population struggles with addiction, and around 2/3 of people, when they are arrested, test positive for some illicit drug. So imagine what we could do if we could reach a population while they're still teenagers and figuring things out. And Goodwill has given the scaffolding for what happens next. What, from a policy perspective, or why aren't more companies doing this, or how can more companies use your model to impact more people?
Well, I think if you talk, to people like Rikki and Anthony or the people in the video, one of the biggest things you hear is they don't know where to go. So we're a massive, nonprofit with, 140,000 employees, but as I mentioned, we've got 700 job centers and support centers that are different from the stores, and that's where many people go for this. They don't know where to go. They don't know what the programs are. People come out of prison with no job, no money, no network, really hard time getting housing, and they have to find a job, right? And by the way, a lot of people have been, Anthony was in for 13 years. From 17 to 30, there's no way people would know what's next or how to get there. And so the biggest issue, Robin, I think, is access to relevant support. How do I find it? And the fact that there isn't that much relevant support out there. We're talking about Goodwill here today because obviously that's the vehicle, but really there are many people, there are many organizations that do wonderful work in this area, but we have to meet people where they are. We have to help them address the issues that they have if we expect them to be successful moving forward. But it really is access and availability of the right kind of support.
Right. And I have a question from the audience where they're asking what other corporate sectors could benefit from these kinds of programs. You don't just help people in retail, you're actually helping with jobs.
No, you heard, Thomas became a welder. Danielle went to work in a Corvette plant. We regularly have people that are going into tech jobs. We provided over 2 million people with digital skills. Nothing blows the door of opportunity open more than digital skills for somebody who doesn't have relevant job skills. So it is in all industries, anything where you could use digital skills, in many cases, healthcare skills, trade skills. It's across the gamut, and we place people into all of those industries.
And you both have come up through the ranks, but now you're also mentoring people. What are some of your proudest sort of case studies that you've kind of, taught them to fly and push them out of the nest and help them thrive?
Well, I could start with that. In the retail setting, there's been so many times where I have run across others that wanted to make a change. Maybe they weren't justice impacted. Maybe it was something else. Or maybe it was just, they're just getting into the workforce again for the first time. And it's been some of the coolest things I've been a part of is encouraging someone that, hey, you can learn this, because I did, and I didn't know anything before this. Goodwill's the first job I've had, right? So it's encouraging and inspiring to help people see the potential they have and see that light go off when they feel like, oh, someone's in my corner now, because that's how I felt.
And Rikki?
I think it's just, we incorporate so many different organizations besides Goodwill, like the mayor, and we make them feel like, they're supported. I think they need to feel supported, and they want to feel supported, and having an organization or somebody just to believe in you makes all the difference in the world. So it's just a great feeling to be able to give that to them, and we get such a good turnout because of it.
Yeah, let me mention one thing to that. One of the most important aspects, we find this specifically with many of the populations we serve, is human support along the journey. The idea of giving somebody an online class or something virtual to support, like people, the value of an individual who is walking through that pathway, who knows what is possible, who knows the kind of support you need, who can connect you with that support, is invaluable, because helping people through that journey is the big issue. And one of the great things is that's what Rikki does. We were talking last night at dinner. The number of people that she helps every day that are going down the same pathway, and she understands because she's been there and she's succeeded.
Right. And it's the human-to-human interaction. This may be the only panel today where we're not going to talk about AI and its impact.
We're using it, but we don't have time.
Sure. So thank you so much for joining us for today, and to see what one company that's been doing the good work since 1902 can accomplish today and still continue to impact people's lives.